Hello, accountability buddies. I'm Les, and this is another episode of Less is More Healthy. I'm out on a bike ride. I'm on the Ozark Trail G.1 Explorer. I've got 5 miles in. Majority of it has all been on pavement. Made a couple of changes to the bike since my last episode or since my last recording. And so I thought I'd come back to the Brad Street green space where I shot one of the first videos about this bike. And tell you about the changes that I've made so far. Um, so in the front end of the bike, I put on the Maroka suspension stem, and that has been life altering. um, it just really smooths all the bumps out. It's not the same feeling as a front suspension, like a fork suspension. It, fork suspension, we've got a RockShox Metro on our commuter bike, and that is just very different than this. This just really softens out these smaller vibrations, some of these smaller bumps. I've got it on the medium soft spring, and I think I might actually go up to the medium hard spring because I think that'll do more of what I want than the medium soft spring. This works really nice, but I do think that the medium hard spring will work better. The hard spring, I could barely notice anything. The soft spring just was mushed all the time. The medium soft is pretty good, but I think the medium hard is probably going to be where it's at for me. But it's fortunately super easy to change those springs out. Literally, you take a cap off, pull the old spring out, slide the new one in, put the cap back on. Easy, super easy to do. And one that I think has made, I think, the majority of the difference in terms of handling and feel, other than the saddle. You know, I've already talked about the fact that I changed the saddle out. I put a Surface RX saddle specific for women, and that has made a world of difference in how the seat feels and just how the whole bike feels. So the combination of the suspension stem and the saddle, huge difference. I don't know if I necessarily notice a difference in the carbon fiber seat post. I know that they're supposed to have some compliance in them, and they're supposed to smooth things out a little bit. I think that I am so short and there's so little of that seat post showing that it's not giving me much, if any, compliance at all. Um, so yeah, so those are the two contact points that I've changed since my last video on this. Of course, the pedals are still the same. I've got the Enley pegged pedals. Really like those. I made myself a frame bag, which so far is working really, really well. The combination of that and then a couple of other bags really lets me carry all of the stuff that I might want on any sort of adventure. So right now, my bag, I'm gonna flip this camera around, and so there's the bag that I made. Currently inside of it, I got a microfiber. I take a microfiber pretty much everywhere with me. Um, a water bottle with electrolytes in it, 600 ml. A second water bottle with plain water in it. I try and keep those in the fridge. Some cycling gloves that I don't really like, but I always bring with me. And then my cable lock, which I only use if I stop and get coffee. And then in the very bottom, I have a little satchel with a TPU tube and patches for it. So some patches in there. And that's what that side of the bag holds. Obviously, it's not nearly as much as my old bag. The frame on the Kona was just a lot bigger. It had, smaller tubes, therefore just a much, much larger triangle. This is a very small triangle, but it feels like it's longer. I don't know. Anyway, different geometry for sure. And then down on the bottom, I've got my toolkit, and I might go over that at another point in time, the top tube bag, or the gas tank bag, um, pretty much only has car keys, my wallet, and my phone in it at any given time. So there's the surface seat, carbon seat post, and then you may have spotted the next big change, and that's a new wheel set. So I did get an Amazon special wheel set. Um, all in, it was $115 for the front and rear wheel. It's a 29er mountain bike wheel set, and it sounds and feels pretty good so far. Um, Now, this wheel set is set up for up to 12 speeds. With spacers, it can hold an 8-speed cassette. You'll notice that the cassette that is on there is an 11-speed, not 11-speed, it's a 10-speed cassette, super wide range. It's a touring cassette or a mountain bike cassette, so it goes from 11 teeth up to 50 teeth, so super wide range. Currently, because I have not changed, I haven't bought my new drivetrain yet. It's still got the Tourney TZ on it that came on the bike. So it is indexed to 7 speeds. So for the 10-speed cassette, I did have to put a spacer on it. I did have, and I only had an 7-speed cassette in a smaller range, and it didn't fit because I didn't have enough spacers. But anyway, this fits really, really well. I did have to use a spacer on it, and that was just barely right. Um, so that, and I did get a 10-speed YBN chain because the chain that was on it was too wide for the 10-speed cassette, and that came in this morning from Amazon. So new chain, new cassette, new wheel set. And currently I am looking at a Sensa Empire Road Double. I might go with an L2. Um, I don't know. I'm debating between an L2 and a Sensa. I like the Sensa better. The Sensa Empire or the Sensa Phi. I think it's a Phi. I don't know. I'm gonna go with either one of those that can accept the wide range or the double. So one of the problems that this is having with the wide range cassette here is that it doesn't have enough spring power to hold the tension. So it works okay. It's not great. So the combination of that, the other change that I did make on the brake side, I picked up from Amazon a new floating um, disc brake. Not the brake itself, but the not caliper, the disc itself. So that has been working well. The downside to changing that out is that it was a real pain in the rear to get that brake working properly again. It took a lot of tuning, a couple of tests where the brake did not work at all. So yeah, that was a real shocker. To be riding along and then the brake just wasn't working. It wouldn't stop me at all. I could pedal and it would go. So I did finally get that tuned in. Now it's stopping on a dime again. I know there have been a lot of complaints about these brakes. They work okay for me. The other big change is I finally got my rear rack on here. This is a, God, probably 14-year-old Ibera rack. They don't make it in this style anymore. This one works pretty well. It's very sturdy. I believe it's rated for up to 55 pounds, if not higher. I got the highest rated rack I could find at the time because I had been planning on doing some touring and obviously never got around to that, but we'll get there eventually. And strapped to the top, I do have my little little foldy stool in case I decide to stop and draw anywhere. So those are the changes I've made to the bike so far. I think that they're really approachable changes in terms of like the wheel set, really lets you change out the drivetrain, like having the ability to put a cassette on there instead of the freewheel just really makes a huge difference. The big difficulty with changing all of any of that over is that if you're not changing the drivetrain over at the same time, you've got to have the proper size cassette. When you've got the proper size cassette, then you have to have the right size chain. So it's this like chain reaction of like, okay, I'm putting the new wheel set on. Do I have a cassette that fits? Oh, do I have a chain that fits? And then you end up ordering, $100 worth of parts just to make the wheels fit. But so far, pretty happy with the changes I've made to the bike so far. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to all the new subscribers. I appreciate it. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye.